This is macOS Ken.
A proposal to upend the App Store, a staccato series of beta releases, and a buy now, pay later plan for Canada. It is Thursday, the 12th of August, 2021. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Notion. One workspace for your whole team. Get collaborating with $250 off at notion.so and use promo code macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by Ladder, smart, dynamic term life insurance. What's more fun than life insurance? Okay, lots of things. Still, Ladder makes it a lot easier to handle. Before Ladder, getting life insurance meant going places, sitting through a sales pitch, filling out tons of forms. Then you got to wait for weeks to see if they were going to approve you. Now, with Ladder, you can get fast, affordable term life insurance without leaving home. When you apply for $3 million or less in coverage, everything happens online. No doctors, no needles, no paperwork. Going through the initial questions took me very little time, way less than you'll spend listening to today's show. If you're between the ages of 20 and 60, need coverage, and want to team up with a company that is redeeming life insurance, choose Ladder. Go to ladderlife.com/macOSken today to see if you're instantly approved. That's LADDER, ladderlife.com/macOSken, ladderlife.com/macOSken. If there's one thing senators from both sides of the aisle can get together on, it's infrastructure. If there are two things they can get together on, they're infrastructure and doing something about big tech. And they've already done what they're going to do about infrastructure. A piece from Newsweek says a bipartisan trio of lawmakers has proposed legislation that could dramatically change the way Apple's App Store operates. Senators Richard Blumenthal, Democrat of Connecticut, Amy Klobuchar, Democrat of Minnesota, and Marsha Blackburn, Republican of Tennessee, have proposed the Open App Markets Act. According to a piece from CNET, the bill would bar companies from forcing developers to use their payment systems. It would also ensure that developers could tell customers about lower pricing on other platforms, and it would force companies like Apple to allow alternative ways to install apps on their devices. A piece from my Download blog highlights another feature of the proposed legislation, barring companies like Apple from using non-public data to create competing applications that rival third-party alternatives. That piece says Apple and Google would need to allow third-party app stores and even sideloading of apps, though it's unclear whether Apple would have to host apps for those stores in its own store, or just have to step aside for their installation. Addressing the proposed legislation, Senator Blumenthal was quoted in a statement saying, "This legislation will tear down coercive anti-competitive walls in the app economy, giving consumers more choices and smaller startup tech companies a fighting chance. For years, Apple and Google have squashed competitors and kept consumers in the dark, pocketing hefty windfalls while acting as supposedly benevolent gatekeepers of this multi-billion-dollar market. This bipartisan bill will help break these tech giants' ironclad grip, open the app economy to new competitors, and give mobile users more control over their own devices." No doubt he's referring to smaller startup tech companies like Epic Games and Spotify, whose Coalition for App Fairness was in on the statement. In the same statement as the one from the senators, the coalition was quoted as saying, "We have worked toward creating a fairer and more competitive app marketplace for both developers and consumers. The Bipartisan Open App Markets Act is a step towards holding big tech companies accountable for practices that stifle competition for developers in the U.S. and around the world." Senator Klobuchar also commented on the legislation, saying competition is critical to protecting small businesses and consumers, spurring innovation and promoting economic equality, By establishing new rules for app stores, this legislation levels the playing field and is an important step forward in ensuring an innovative and competitive app marketplace. And from Senator Blackburn, big tech giants are forcing their own app stores on users at the expense of innovative startups. Apple and Google want to prevent developers and consumers from using third-party app stores that would threaten their bottom line. Their anti-competitive conduct is a direct affront to a free and fair marketplace. Senator Blumenthal, Klobuchar, and I are committed to ensuring U.S. consumers and small businesses are not punished by big tech dominance. I will say I am really turned on by the commitment to privacy and security expressed in the statement. I will also say I'm being sarcastic. The statement from the senators mentions privacy and security one time, saying that the law sets safeguards to continue to protect privacy, security, and safety of consumers. Some of the legislation supporters mention the commitment to privacy, though how that'll work isn't completely clear. I mean, the thing's written like proposed legislation. Now, this will shock you. I am not a lawyer. If I'm reading the text of the proposed legislation correctly, though, if Apple and Google can prove that an action that they're taking is for the protection of the user, the law won't apply to that action. But the same action has to be taken on their own apps. They can't use such protections as a pretext to exclude or impose unnecessary or discriminatory terms on third-party apps, in-app payment systems, or app stores. And it seems they have to prove that there is no other way to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. I'd be really curious to know how lawmakers think Apple and Google can thread that needle. I'm also curious whether the lawmakers themselves are curious about that. For its part, Apple hasn't said a lot about the proposed legislation. A piece from Mac Rumors had the company saying in a statement, "Since our founding, we've always put our users at the center of everything we do, and the App Store is the cornerstone of our work to connect developers and customers in a way that is safe and trustworthy. The result has been an unprecedented engine of economic growth and innovation, one that now supports more than 2.1 million jobs across all 50 states. At Apple, our focus is on maintaining an app store where people can have confidence that every app must meet our rigorous guidelines and their privacy and security is protected." More news in a moment, but first a word from Notion. One workplace for your whole team. Wiki may sound quaint, like something teams used to use. But with more and more hybrid work models out there, teams today need a central hub for their information and work more than ever. That's where Notion comes in. One place for notes, docs, projects, everyday work that goes way beyond a wiki. You can collaborate in real time, tailor workflows to your team's specific needs, and share with ease. Personally, I hate the way a lot of collaboration tools let the collaboration get in the way of the work. I like being able to see who's made what changes and such, but I really like just seeing the work without all the notes. That's one thing that's impressed me with Notion. Hundreds of thousands of teams worldwide are already saving time, getting more done, and making work easier for team members with Notion. See what Notion can do for your team. Notion is currently running a special offer to listeners of the show. Go to notion.so and use promo code macOSken to get $250 off its annual team plan. That's multiple months free for your growing team. Don't forget, that's notion.so. Enter promo code macOSken during checkout. Get collaborating today with $250 off at notion.so and use promo code macOSken. An interesting day of updates from Apple, mostly on the beta side, though not all. I kind of like this headline from Cult of Mac. Apple releases mystery macOS Big Sur 11.5.2 update. I figured the mystery was what security thing it fixes, though it's not that. A spin by Apple's security update page says the update has no published common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVE, entries. As for what we know it does, we don't. Cult of Mac says all that's known about the new version is Apple's note that macOS 11.5.2 includes bug fixes for your Mac. These must have been fairly significant for there to be an update just to fix them, says the piece. But at this point, nobody knows what they are. There are updates for you folks in Apple's public beta program. A day after their release to developers, Mac Rumors says Apple has released the 5th betas of iOS 15 and iPadOS 15 to the public testing people. The piece does not say what's new for the 5th beta specifically. Rather, it lists new features planned for the operating systems, including new features for FaceTime, tools for reducing distractions, updated notifications, and privacy enhancements. You can, of course, read about the slew of new features coming to both operating systems on the internet. Not sure you've heard of it. As for testing the public betas, you can learn more and join that crew at beta.apple.com. A reminder, though, you should only do that on machines that you can do without. They call it testing for a reason. There is a stop-and-start nature to this week's betas. 3 developer betas hit Tuesday: iOS 15, iPadOS 15, and tvOS 15. A day later, 2 of those hit the public testers. Then, 2 more betas that are for the developers alone. Apple Insider has a couple of stories, one about the 5th beta of watchOS 8 and another about the 5th beta of macOS Monterey. As with the updates for the public people, Apple Insider has nothing new about the new developer beta specifically, instead hitting new features expected for the final releases. For watchOS 8, that includes Tai Chi and Pilates workouts, respiratory rates in the Sleep app, new photos layouts and memories, and digital crown cursor control and GIF search for messages. And don't you start with me about GIF versus GIF. I swear to God, I will pull this show over. Features featured for macOS Monterey include universal control, shortcuts, quick note, AirPlay to Mac, Focus, and other app-specific updates. These include SharePlay for iMessage, Safari tab organization, live text support for photos, and new grid views and spatial audio for FaceTime. There's been a rumor that Apple was on the verge of offering buy now, pay later plans in Canada. Yeah, those plans are official now. Apple Insider says Canadian customers can spread out the cost of new devices over a set period of time thanks to a partnership between Apple and Affirm. The report says the partnership went live on Wednesday. It allows customers to finance new iPhone, iPad, and Mac purchases over a 12-month or 24-month period. That cost is interest-free, provided payments are made in full over the agreed-upon period of time. While the Affirm partnership only covers Canada, the piece points to a couple of plans like it in the States, one for Apple cardholders and another in the rumor phase. Like the Affirm plan, Apple Insider says Apple cardholders in the U.S. can spread out the cost of device purchases over months, again without interest for a specified period of time. As for the rumored offering, the piece says Apple is reportedly developing an Apple Pay installment plan with Goldman Sachs. Dubbed Apple Pay Later, the plans will reportedly be available for any purchase made using Apple's payment platform. And finally today, if you're looking to get into a low-cost iPad, you'll want to keep your eye on Apple's Refurbished store. A piece from Cult of Mac says Apple's 8th gen entry-level tablet has hit the good-as-new pile. Introduced just under a year ago, the Cult says the machine sports a 10.2-inch Retina display, is powered by Apple's A12 Bionic chip, uses Touch ID, and includes Apple Pencil and Smart Connector support. Discounts are not drastic, but the machines aren't that old either. The 32GB Wi-Fi only model usually starts at $329. When it's in the refurb store, it goes for $279. I say when it's there because that model was gonzo by the time I checked yesterday. The 128GB Wi-Fi only machines start at $429, though refurbished models are going for $359. Adding cellular to a new device jacks the starting price to $459. The starting price for a refurbished model with cellular knocks $70 off, with an entry price of $389. I said earlier that the devices are good as new. Certainly that's Apple's contention. According to the company, refurbished devices get full functionality testing with faulty bits replaced. They go through a few inspections after refurbishment. They come with Apple's 14-day return policy and Apple 1-year limited warranty. And finally, they are eligible for Apple Care coverage. Good as new. That said, there's a pretty good chance that actual new 9th-gen iPads will be out in the next few months. Still, if you know somebody who doesn't need the latest tablet or just can't refuse a good bargain, you may want to keep an eye on Apple's refurbished store. Coming up in a few minutes, Apple TV Plus is a failure. The HomePod line is buster. Yet somehow Apple is still making money fist over tea kettle. Mac Voices host Chuck Joyner and I will discuss the all-or-nothing mentality around everything Apple does. The show is called In a Few Minutes. Find it and listen at macOSken.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Ladder, smart, dynamic term life insurance. Learn more at ladderlife.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by Notion, one workspace for your whole team. Get collaborating with $250 off at notion.so and use promo code macOSken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macOSken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.